has an input which I never use because I use my my Scarlett to record, and we're going. God, Roz,
What?
you know what?
I got new headphones.
I just pushed the button.
I know you did.
I got like very fancy headphones because they are legitimately a work expense. It's good to have good headphones to monitor. But the Metzi, like MEZE,
I'm so
not
jealous
the
of you.
not the like super expensive ones, the classic ones, the wood ones.
The 109s or 99s.
I think they're just called like something classics. But I got a pair of those, and the like impedance on them or whatever is like literally it's like 32 ohms, so you can just run them without anything
through like a cell phone. I see you. I know you are also a DenkPods.
That's right, and I don't have the money or the Australian clout to just get a free pair of like $1,500 headphones, but I do have the money thanks to the patrons to get the like sort of entry level nice headphones. Because the Audio Technicas, the ear cups, I had just like I'd had them for like 5 years, and I don't know what's wrong with me, man, but like something is wrong with the sides of my head because the ear cups are like shredded.
Oh, it's
I
gotta
don't know
hold
what
that big ass brain of yours.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
I'm using.
Liam, you sound a little quiet.
That's because I turned my gain down to try and be nicer because I keep getting downmixed.
Oh, wow.
I was trying to be helpful to Devin, but instead I'm just gonna blow up my levels and make them deal with it when they're back from vacation.
Oh, I'm sure they'll love that.
Yeah, sorry, Dev. Hi, hope you had a great trip. I cannot recommend the Massdrop. The Sennheiser 6XXs enough. I really like them. We have cooed Roz. There will be no discussion of what you see on your screen. This is headphone chat for the next 7.5 hours.
Oh my god.
Yeah. For instance, I got the Sony noise cancelling like in ears, and those are the things that I can hear myself. So one of us needs to get better headphones.
I am using open backs.
God damn!
I
After
also
all
use
this,
open backs.
After all this shit,
open backs. Use open backs. How's that? Is that any better?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm just gonna keep talking. So I may have mentioned this, but I got the Sony in-ear ones for when I'm like out and around, and I'm normal in public now, so that's cool, worth it.
I own I am somewhat of a your Patreon dollars goes towards scotch and headphones, listeners. And
I think we can just cut all of this.
No, we're gonna leave it.
I mean, what we should do is just have the audio beamed directly into our brains.
Into your skull.
Do the like jaw like conductive, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, the bone conductive headphones that freak me out. Yeah.
Get your like gray matter rattled. Yeah. They kind of it's weird because they have this very strange quality to them. But it's very, very useful if you have, problems with your actual ears, because then you don't need to use them to hear. Yeah, you can just like hear with your skull.
Yeah.
Oh well, I guess that works.
My dad, Ross, has hearing damage.
Oh wow.
He'll never admit it, but he does.
Do I?
Yes.
I mean, probably. I mean, there's a lot of situations where I'm in where I just can't hear shit where everyone else is fine.
You've kind of. The impression that I have of you is that you've just been tanking a bunch of sort of like occupational health things for many years at this point.
Yeah, sort of I don't know, loud party. Can't hear anyone. I want to go home. I can't talk to anyone because I can't hear what they're saying.
I mean, anytime you tell me a story about work, like before podcasts or before YouTube, it's like, I swam through this trench of dioxin every day.
Well, it was never quite that bad. I was in some pretty gnarly places and buildings.
It was that bad.
So thank you to the listeners for keeping me out of the poorhouse, Liam in headphones, and Justin out of the trench of dioxin.
Yes.
Or hanging off somewhere, Chestnut Square, whatever they called that shithole.
That still gives me vertigo thinking back to that. That was really stupid. I should not have gone around that corner.
No.
There's a reason there were tie-off points there. Anyway, I didn't die, so I'm good.
Sort of one of the qualifications for having a podcast is not having died.
Not having fallen off a 40-story building, yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Anyway, so welcome to Well, There's Your Problem. It's a podcast about keeping us from dying and engineering disasters.
That's right.
I'm Justin Rosniak. I'm the person who's talking right now. My pronouns are he and him. Okay, go.
I am Alice Caldwell Kelly. I'm the person who's talking now. My pronouns are she and her. Yay, Liam.
Hey, Liam. Hi, I'm Liam Anderson. My pronouns are he and him. I'm the person talking right now. If you want to mail me headphones, the PO box is in the video description. Please mail me headphones and continue to bother. Yes.
Really front loading the fact that we have a PO box, which is good because I like it when people give us free stuff.
Shout out to Twitter user Kidney Stones of Jordan for the PC part. He emailed me.
So what you see in front of you appears to be a piece of avant-garde sculpture.
Yes, I believe that it's that and not the wreckage of an aircraft.
No, it's like a spaceship sort of like landed and then somebody sheared the top of it off, you know?
I was thinking that too.
Yeah. Well, in fact, it is a piece of Boeing 737. Now you may wonder, where is the rest of it?
Still up. You know that pilot joke? They never left one up there. Yeah, this was the first one.
This was the first one.
I mean, the problem with planes is that if you subject them to strenuous enough physical forces, they become avant-garde sculpture.
Yes, I think we did leave one up there.
MH370.
Voyager 1.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, probably MH370 too.
Still up, you know. Don't worry about it. They're just doing like I mean, they have the Night Watch emergency operations planes that like there's always one up, but they do
the operation. What's that called? The
nuke ones. But they do this on a sort of bullshit rotor thing where like one of them lands, another one takes off, so there's always one up. I think they should be like testing one to either mechanical or crew failure and just keep air-to-air refueling it.
Oh, I don't like that at all.
That was the idea of the
welcome to the stress test.
Yeah.
That was the idea of the nuclear airplane project.
Yeah, I mean, air-to-air nuclear refueling. You just shoot a bunch of spent fuel rods up the thing. Yeah.
That'd be pretty
rods from what's the opposite? What's ground god? I don't know.
Rods from Satan, I guess.
Yes.
Lives under the ground, lives at the bottom of the Kola super deep borehole. I'm reliably informed. So
yes. Well, what we're here to talk about is none of those things.
Oh,
we are here to talk about
if you're in hell, right? What you need to do, if you're listening to this in hell, you need to find the entrance to the Kola super deep borehole, and then instead of like screaming at it in like a haunted, moaning way, like every other dipshit down there, what you need to do is you need to force yourself upwards through like however many 100 miles of like 3-inch pipe
nickel or whatever.
Yeah, you need to like properly Junji Ito yourself, like punch through the little bullshit casing they have on the top, and then you're just done. You're good. You gotta, I mean, okay, you're 3 inches wide now, but I'm sure there's like treatments for that, and then you're out. Made it.
So we're here to talk about Helios Airways Flight 522.
Now we're talking about the Kola super deep borehole, dude. Sorry.
No, I want to keep going with my thing for like 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah, whatever upsets you the most.
Mm-hmm.
We got a lot of slides to cover, folks.
I got nothing to do, buddy. This is my job.
Wow, Liam Anderson, workaholic.
That's
the podcast workaholic. Yeah.
Yeah. But first, we have to do the goddamn news.
Bad news. We're gonna have to put some links in the description on this one. So did you guys see the post that was like, oh shit, like all of Hawaii has burned down, all of Hawaii is destroyed and sunk into the ocean, the entire state's gone, but not a blade of grass on the Obama's property is damaged mysteriously?
Well,
yes,
I would say the most famous Hawaiian island is Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah, it's been annexed. Yeah. Yes, I mean, so what happened is that there have been these huge wildfires on Maui. The Obama's place is on Oahu, which is a different fucking island, right?
Yes.
Thus the stupidity of that post. But yeah, it's like, what is it, like over 100 people dead so far, and like some similarly like huge number of people missing.
Absolutely heartbreaking, terrifying. People jumping into the fucking ocean to avoid the fire. Absolutely.
Yeah, it burned down this whole town, Lahaina, I think it's called.
Lahaina,
Yes,
yeah.
it's one of the most historic towns on the Hawaiian Islands too, and pretty much everything's gone.
Mm.
Yeah.
But they're gonna like rebuild in the sense of redevelop it and turn it into like luxury resort, like
Oh yeah,
more so.
just like Christchurch, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, this is another one of those climate change fueled things. You know, at least the proximate cause is climate change. You know, because
Oh yeah.
there's all these extra typhoons in the Pacific now that help fan the flames, which help make this wildfire much worse than it usually is. Because usually wildfires, they're not, you know, they're not easily able to cross like the urban wildlands divide.
Right.
In this case, this one was just like, nah, fuck you. You got a bunch of wooden buildings, and you know, no amount of fireproofing is stopping this thing.
Right.
You know, because this is, I don't know, this is not something you've really seen since, you know, the era of the Great Fires. You know, which is a long time ago. I don't think we've had a proper Great Fire in something like 70 years. Hello, milkshake.
Yeah. I mean, sort of lots of blame going around for this at the moment. Supposedly the emergency sirens that they have,
The power grid was not sufficient.
Yeah, well, they just
I've
didn't
read
go
bits and
off.
pieces,
Yeah. I think the
Shades of Pope Paul.
the official who was supposed to do that said that he didn't want to like panic people and have them run into higher ground because they're normally like tsunami warnings. But I don't know.
This
I
was a
don't know.
situation where there was basically no evacuation route.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean for like a
Into
long
the open
few
ocean
days,
is not a place I
yeah.
want to evacuate to.
Yeah, and for like a long few days afterwards, like the first week even afterwards, like it's still been like very, very poorly organized, as I understand.
Extremely touch and go from what I've seen.
Sort of
Yeah.
a real self-rescue sort of situation.
Plus, you got, you know, this wonderful thing where our entire infrastructure is based around cars, which turns out when you got to evacuate everyone at once, they get stuck.
I've seen the
As
video.
seen in this image.
The videos out of Katrina too.
Yeah.
And the worst part is they had a near miss like this in like 2018 that again almost took out the town in the way that this one did. And you'd think that would have been maybe a teachable moment for somebody with the power to do something about it, but seemingly not.
No.
And I mean, the other cool thing about this is that because it's Hawaii, you got tourists coming back or trying to.
Yes, because the spa at the Four Seasons burnt down. I saw that tweet.
Yeah, exactly. To be like, well, actually, I think it's very inconsiderate of you to have your house burned down when I'm trying to have a relaxing vacation here.
Yes.
So, I mean, you know, I don't blame anyone for a sort of like anti-tourist sentiment here, or indeed most other places.
If I didn't have a house anymore, I wouldn't be thrilled.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate tourists, and I have a house, so
yeah,
stop coming to my neighborhood.
Yeah, and I mean, it's one of the things where like you know the state has like vastly prioritized it as part of the economy. It's
Right.
like you know I think it's like 20-30% of the economy. So like huge numbers of jobs.
Well, they ran out of guano to mine.
Yeah.
So you don't have a lot of other options.
I always get guapo and guana confused. I was like handsome shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, service economy, tourism is I guess what it is, and so the redevelopment of that is like
It's gonna be just luxury condos, right? And
Yeah.
native indigenous Hawaiians are just gonna get fucked.
Yeah.
And we're gonna act like it's this is Zuck's fault actually.
In part, yeah, absolutely.
That's what happens when we put the Jews in charge.
Not what I meant.
Yes, that's what she meant.
No, I wasn't taking a hard pivot to anti-Semitism here. It was more like
space laser misfire.
Space laser misfire. That was the joke I was sort of trying to chisel out of the marble.
The big like space Zippo. So like yeah. No, I mean like the sort of erosion of land rights in favor of
private islands and whatever the fuck else.
Yeah, exactly. Is not necessarily a proximate cause here, but it's definitely like a contributing factor.
At some point, we will have to do the telescope episode.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But
I have read those emails. I know. Okay, we are getting to the telescope episode.
Or the U.S. Navy just like kind of dumping bunker fuel into everyone's water.
Oh yeah.
Joe
was the big
Kasabian
one.
actually has 3 heads now. But
You can really see sort of Hawaii is one of those locations where you can really kind of like see the state with its clothes off. You know,
yes.
one
It's,
of the sort of like sharp ends of these things.
I have been to Hawaii.
Oh, so you're a colonizer, so you
Yeah,
shouldn't
exactly.
have done that.
Everybody. Sorry, everybody. It's the same apology I'm going to do for Birthright. I went on Birthright. Sorry.
you went on Hawaii Birthright. It's
Yeah,
very very geographically.
Yeah, I went to BYU
confused.
Honolulu, and now I play O line. I am actually Samoan. Fun fact.
What do you got to do?
White guy.
You just got to go to all the most distasteful places. You know, next one is see if there's a birthright for the Jewish Autonomous Oblast.
Yeah, I mean,
going to Russia.
Going to Russia is probably like one of the more cancelable things you could do right now. So yeah, you could go to Crimea or something. You know?
Oh yeah, you go. I'm joining the Ukrainian-Russian war on the side of the Russians.
It's really knowing how to like stick with a loser.
Yeah. It's a shame. We're recording this moments after Prigozhin had a
mysterious act of God's love.
Yeah.
Right.
Should have put that in, but we literally it was like a minute ago.
What can you say other than play stupid games, win stupid prizes?
Yeah, absolutely.
You gotta see the coup through to completion, my guy. You gotta
know what he thought was gonna happen.
You cannot give up the coup horse in midstream. You
have to finish the nice Sunday drive. You have to arrive at your destination.
Yeah, listen. If SCS aren't going to release the Russia Euro Truck Simulator DLC, you have to do the next best thing and invade Moscow.
Yes.
We should put some links for like the Hawaiian Red Cross or something.
We should probably do that. Various recovery efforts. Yes. In other news.
For a second, I got my wires crossed, and I was like, we should probably put some links in the description for Evgeny Prigozhin. Shout out to his family.
Wagner.net.
It's Wagner.ru. They're really hurting right now.
About to say, if you need a private military contractor right now, I mean, they are hurting for business. Yeah.
It's like hard to be a merc, buddy.
You often hear about in like organizational studies the bus factor, which is the number of people it would take to get hit by a bus to like take out the organization. So for us, it's 1, right? You know, one of us gets hit by a bus, the podcast doesn't work anymore. And I was kind of surprised to learn that Wagner is also the same number.
Well, no, it was they put all the people in the same bus.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. That's why we have to get like separate planes everywhere, like Coca-Cola executives.
Yes. So yeah, in other news, Hurricane Hillary hit Los Angeles at the same time an earthquake did.
What you mean, Hurricane
Hillary? Yes.
Disaster movie ass synopsis. And for all that, you know, like as many times as Los Angeles has been destroyed in movies and stuff, seeing it happen in real life, none of the big buildings fell over, man. What the fuck? Like, I feel cheated.
There's just a lot of mud in the streets. Now places like
play in that water, by the way.
Do not
please.
touch the poop. Don't. I have seen, and I say this with a hatred in every fiber of my being. I have seen TikToks. Right, I've seen footage. I know what you people have been doing with that floodwater, and I'm here to say, do not do it. If you do like the splits into that floodwater for the sake of a fun TikTok, you will get diseases in your pussy, the likes of which civilization has not seen in 1,000 years.
I don't want necrotizing pussy. I don't want necrotizing pussy.
No.
Sorry for using that word, parents.
Yeah. I did receive some pictures of the Union Pacific line out in Yuma, Arizona. If you remember from our last episode, the San Diego and Arizona Railroad, that's where it joined. Things look pretty bad out there.
Yeah, buddy.
An easy railroad to destroy. And
and they did it again.
Yeah, I mean, this is sort of the San Diego gets weather once every 60 years situation. Well, it happened.
And it's all bad. And it's all
yeah,
bad.
it's very bad.
Yeah. So do we know like any of the actual consequences of that yet, or are we just kind of like it's bad? Someone's
Yeah.
car floated away, kind of thing.
Well, I don't think that this was as bad as let's say what happened in Hawaii. I think this is just an extreme rain event. There's some flooding, but not like crazy flooding.
But don't go in the poop water, please.
Don't go in the poop water.
I'm enjoying us sort of like developing house style that whenever a sort of like climate change event happens, we just say that the entire city, or in Hawaii's case, the entire state has been destroyed.
Yes.
Oh, taking us back to the live show. And
Yeah.
speaking of,
No, we have
that's-
another news item.
Damn it! Fuck.
Another news item. Yeah.
What is going on here?
So this one's me. So in Pakistan, very recently, in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, I fucked up the pronunciation there. In KP province, right? It's very mountainous, lots of mountain valleys. And what do you do when the school is 2 minutes away if you are able to travel directly across the mountain valley, or 4 hours away if you have to drive down and then back up? The answer,
Build a cableway.
yeah, you build a cableway. And
Yep.
who do you get to build the cableway? Some guy from the
Yeah.
town.
Yes.
He like makes it out of like scrap metal and like iron and stuff, and like a couple of ropes. And there's a bunch of these. And so this cable car, this sort of like homemade one, was carrying like 8 people, most of them kids on their way to school, and like it's got, I think, 2 cables. One of them snaps, and it leaves them stranded like 900 feet above the ground. And
Presumably just dangling diagonally.
exactly, yeah. I mean, you
Right.
can't see it in this photo, but it's literally like a metal sort of like container bin thing that's like canted over on one side. What you can see in this photo is that the Pakistani army is left with how the fuck do you rescue people from this? You don't have like one of the like specialized things that goes onto the cable or anything. It's like 900 feet in the air, so you can't go up. And so the solution is dangle a guy on a helicopter, like on a winch, and just have him do some really, really precise flying, and just like get him on there, have him like executive decision it, like the Steven Seagal movie, and just like get in the thing, grab the kids, and go. And the amazing thing is, they fucking did it. Like, no one died doing this. One guy on the end of a like winch successfully grabbed up 8 people, like 6
Damn.
kids, 2 adults, and got them back on the ground safely, which is astounding.
It's incredible.
I mean, I don't know how you both A, pilot a helicopter like that, and B, get dangled on the end of a winch doing that. It's ridiculous.
Very carefully.
Yeah, no kidding.
This is definitely still a better option that I would prefer to the other 2 options I can think of, which are big ladder. Don't like that.
Yeah.
Or
Space
trampoline.
elevator.
Trampoline is not so good either.
We train them all to bungee jump.
Yeah.
So in a real case of sort of like
if you bungee jump, you just wind up stuck there
you go
about
back
halfway
up.
in between.
Yeah. Fuck. So in a fabulous case of like locking the stable door after the horse has bolted, the caretaker prime minister says that he's ordered all of the chairlifts in the country to be inspected for safety, which is okay.
Okay.
I mean, supposedly this one was, but like it was just built by like a guy,
Dude, right.
Yeah, it's like a hobbyist thing, which it is.
That's what I want to. Okay, well,
I
what are you
mean,
gonna do, right? I mean,
the thing is, right, in Pakistan, right, they don't have the kind of civilized American option of bulldozing all of this to build like an 18-lane freeway that makes it a mere 2-minute drive from your house to the school.
Right, of course.
So instead, it would be like a 4-hour drive. And because they don't have the kind of American rugged individualism that makes you want to drive everywhere, they just have to, contrive a sort of a public transport solution. Is it the safest? No. Is it the prettiest? No. But, that's the kind of spirit of innovation that I think we should be encouraging. Makeshift cable cars.
I wonder how you get, in a makeshift fashion, the cable from one end of the mountain to the other.
Oh, that's an interesting question. I mean, you've got to just have like a cable party, just like walk it across, right? Like
It
you
could
don't.
be that, or it could be a helicopter. I mean, you're only using it once.
You think you could like get in a helicopter one time to do this?
Well, no,
I
there's
wouldn't
two
like
cables,
to.
so you'd have to do it 2 times.
Yeah.
I mean, how much does a helicopter hire go for? Do we think in KP?
I don't know, a
I have
couple
no
$100
idea. It's probably pretty cheap, actually.
Mm.
The cost
So,
of
like,
living is pretty low out there.
in sort of like in rural Pakistan, yeah, you can probably exploit imperialism here and be like,
Blade for rural Pakistan.
Yeah.
I was
helicopter
thinking,
Uber startup.
yeah, I was thinking more like you could get like the special operations command to do it by being like, yeah, I saw Osama bin Laden here, or like, you know, he was on the end of this cable in the middle of the mountain valley. If you like come and lift it up, you can get his
You
ass.
can get them, yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, I've heard that the last thing that Osama bin Laden wants you to do is to take this cable and bring it over there. If you did that, he'd be really mad.
Real mad.
Just only the most topical jokes. They killed the guy like fucking 50 years ago or some shit like that, and I'm such a hack. I don't deserve good headphones.
Don't worry. So
Well, how old is the cable way? It might have worked.
A good point. Yeah. The cableway was nicknamed Dolly, by the way, which is just a fun little detail.
More like Dolly farting.
Hello, Dolly.
Plunging several hundred feet to my death below. Right. Yes, of course.
So make sure your cableways are inspected.
Yeah, and if you have to get someone rescued by helicopter, go to Pakistan, I guess, because goddamn, somebody's been playing take on helicopters out there.
Yeah. In other
copter
news, we have a live show. There's a live show going to happen. It's on September 12th. It's at Franklin Music Hall. It's with us, Minion Death Cult Podcast, and the Antifada Podcast. I think because we're all podcasts in the venue that night, it should be called Franklin Podcast Hall for the night. No one's going with my idea.
No, we couldn't even get it on 9/11 like we wanted, which is again a double insult. But
it's schedule conflicts, you know.
The day you'll almost never forget.
Listen, I want you to remember as Americans who you were on 9/12 when you went to the combination
paying guests of our podcast. Thank you.
Well, there's your problem, Minion Death Cult Antifada live show. It's going to be a great time. We couldn't figure out visas for me to come, but I'm going to telepresence it like Edward Snowden again.
Yeah.
You must come. You have to. It's going to be a great time. The last live show we did, we couldn't upload any of the audio because it was sort of a series of chants, and it got excitable. And I think if you want to have an excitable time in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on the 12th of September, this is where to do it.
Please come to the live show, and I will maybe fight you.
Liam and Justin will literally sign stuff for you after, probably.
Do that.
That's true.
Signed a first responder ID after the last one.
Yeah. Whatchamacallit. There will be exclusive merchandise at the live show. Not sure what it will be yet.
Well, for one thing, you'll be able to get a copy of this cool poster, I believe.
Yes, this is true. And so, if you buy tickets, you can then come to the show and then give us even more money.
Yes,
a rare opportunity.
Give
us your money.
Yes, you need to keep me in headphones, listeners.
This is a really fucking good poster, by the way.
Grim.
That's right.
Very good artist.
We are going to puppet 6 dead cops and 2 Liberty Bells. It's going to be like a sort of a medley thing. It's going to be us and Minion Death Cult and the Antifada each doing a little show within a show thing. It's going to be really fun.
There'll be 2 of us in person from each of the podcasts, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we have the devil here, which I assume that's Alice turning us all into cops.
Are we cops? I don't want to be a
cop. Yeah, that's it. This is what's happening. This is the live show where I make you all into cops.
Oh, Isn't that reverse? What is it, fucking opposite day?
I'm finally gonna do it. You know, I've been threatening it for a long time. You're all getting sworn in.
Ah, shit. Well,
I don't want to.
at least,
Man, it's just gonna
And
end up
they-
being.
and they people say art doesn't symbolize anything anymore.
Interesting.
All right. That was the goddamn news.
All right, I gotta own up to something real quick here. I have to talk about the process of making this podcast, because when I do the slides or I do any
don't tell
part
them
of the
how we make the
slides,
sausage.
basically what happens is on 5 minutes notice, I go, oh shit, I gotta find an image for this. And the way in which I choose to source images for this podcast is unethically. I just Google image it. And so that's why this has it's an illustration of air pressure and altitude, primarily in reference to birds.
Yes.
We should probably hire an art team, but we don't. We spend all that money on headphones.
Yeah. So airplanes, right? Commercial
this.
airliners. They're pressurized, right? Now, two questions present themselves here, which are how and why specifically. So you have a commercial airplane, right? It flies at a high altitude, 34,000 feet, 41,000 feet, whatever.
Mhm.
The air is very thin up there.
I have a bugbear about this, by the way. People say that the air has less oxygen in it. It doesn't. It's the same amount of oxygen. It's just lower partial pressure of oxygen. Sorry, it always bothers me when people say, like, there's less oxygen in the air. It's like, no, you can make less use of the oxygen in the air because the gas exchange is less efficient. Like,
there's less air in the air. So yeah, if you have thin air up there, that's pretty bad for lift on the airplane. That lift works better in thicker air, right? But you can compensate for that by going faster, which is easier because the air is thinner, so you don't have to shove as much of it out of your way. So flying a plane very high and very fast is very economical from, fuel efficiency, so on and so forth. It also gives you a whole bunch of glide time if something goes wrong with the engines, right?
Yeah, plus cool view out of the window, keeps you clear of, like, definitionally everything, because as we see here, the highest point of terrain on Earth is still significantly
Lower than you are.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, someone was knocking at the neighbor's house so loud I thought it was like my door.
So punching house. You know what it doesn't put you
Yes, you
above,
do.
though, strangely enough, is vultures. As we see here, thank you to the
I know we talked about that yesterday.
the bird reference graph, right? A vulture has a sort of cruising altitude about the same as a commercial aircraft, which means you could get a bird strike at cruising altitude if you're
Fucking
unlucky
alarming.
enough. Yeah. So if you wanted to know this in sort of reference terms of, like, how high a whooper swan flies or whatever, then yeah, I'm your girl, or rather, Google Images is your girl.
So aircraft are pressurized, right? But they're not that pressurized, right? In the same way that, like, let's say a submarine or a spaceship is. Everything leaks. Air leaks out of the plane, at sort of a constant rate. And you compensate for that by adding more air into the cabin. This is from something called bleed air, right? That comes from the engines. Essentially, the point between, I'm not entirely certain of this. There's some point between the intake and where the fuel is added to the engine. You siphon off the air that's coming through the turbine. Then you send that through a bunch of heat exchangers because it's very, very hot air, but it's very highly compressed air. And then you use that for the HVAC system, for certain pneumatic systems, cooling electronics, so on and so forth, right? So so this is how you continuously add air into the cabin to compensate for leakage.
Sure.
And this means also, since it comes from the engines, every once in a while you get something called a fume incident where some oil gets into the bleed air. Airlines say this is harmless, except for that one time in Spirit Airlines flight in 2015 where the pilots were actually incapacitated by the fumes. But I guess that's a rare incident.
Awesome.
It's perfectly normal to be sprayed with a mist of engine oil. Don't worry about
bad Spirit Airlines flight.
Yeah, exactly. So your air change on the plane is something like 3 minutes, right? Which is why you didn't necessarily see airplanes as COVID super spreader events, at least before you could identify a COVID super spreader event. It's sort of the same thing on like public transportation. All those things, they circulate the air really, really quickly because they have to, as opposed to, let's say, a theater. Yeah, so that's also why it gets
so
really...
you're telling me I've been just like wearing a mask like an asshole, and I needn't have?
Oh God, let's not wade into that.
Let's not get another strike from YouTube over this.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
So
Probably, I'm gonna keep doing it. Don't yell at me.
This is also why it's so dry in the airplane, right? If it were truly sealed shut, everyone would get everyone would be breathing. It'd get really, really humid in there and nasty.
It'd be like dust boat, you know? You'd be fucking...
exactly. It'd be horrible submarine air, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, also like an airplane is pressurized to like not that high, like or even that low of an altitude. Like essentially you're at like Mexico City altitude, right?
Yeah, I
like,
want to say standard cabin pressure is like 8,000 feet or something.
Interesting. Which is also why your food tastes bad, from what I recall, or bland. Not necessarily bad, but bland.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it also has to do with the dryness of the air, and you know what you're doing is you're bringing in very, very hot, very, very dry air, and then you send it through the air conditioning process, which dehumidifies it further. And if you wanted to bring, let's say, a humidifier on there to make it more comfortable, you got to put a big water tank on the plane, which I don't think that's going to be bad for weight.
Yeah.
So you just deal with it.
We can't do that. You vet me. I am
recycle it from the toilets. Yes, humidified air.
You'll get nothing in like it hogs.
Again, best Spirit Airlines flight.
That's when you're really going to get Legionella. Check out our bonus episode.
Yeah. So yeah, all of these things conspire to create that strange sort of like airplane feeling, which we all know and love, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially Roz.
Oh yeah, I love that airplane feeling. I love everything about flying. It's so great. Oh my
I've
God.
never known you to
stale
totally
taste of recycled air
all over the place. Derek trying to calm you down, you being like, I'll kill everybody here.
A thing you can say on planes and I can't.
Look, there was a reason the flight into Newark was canceled, is all I can say.
Yeah, it was me saying I could kill everybody here and getting wrestled to the ground by 5 air marshals.
We were in the back of the plane. They didn't give a shit if we lived or died.
Yeah, I was about to say, for reference, this is from a few months ago when Liam and our friend Derek and I were on a American Airlines flight from New Orleans to Philadelphia that just, went straight through a thunderstorm, which I understand is something you're not supposed to do.
It's frowned upon in the thunderstorm community, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then of course, we went to the runway and there was too much crosswind, so we had to do a go around and go to the perpendicular runway, which meant going back into the thunderstorm and coming back around. It was very, very stupid.
See,
I thought for sure we were going to divert to Harrisburg and I would have a nice, pleasant flight. No.
We've diverted to Harrisburg.
I like when the weather is bad and you get like strong crosswinds and stuff, and you get plane spotters going to the airport to like admire the skill of the pilots, and they're all like, "Oh, wow, he's like really going to make it, really going to go for it." But the problem is, pilots are too good at piloting now, and the planes are too good at not crashing, so there's no suspense to it. You just watch the thing. He's like, "Yeah, he's going to make that." Like, whatever.
Yeah, so I'm not a big fan of really bad turbulence. So anyway,
incidentally, that's going to get worse because of climate change.
Oh yeah, that's why we need high-speed rail.
Or like sort of like space flight. The like what do you call it? The like space plane thing.
All right, you're gonna get space turbulence then.
Space turbulence. Fuck. Okay.
You're gonna get hit by a big rock.
Everything,
or a Starlink satellite.
Everything but high-speed rail is a conspiracy against the speed and comfort of the passenger.
Yes.
Put that in a t-shirt.
So okay. So that's how you pressurize the plane, is you shove a bunch of bleed air from the engines into the cabin at a greater rate than it can leak out. Now, why do you pressurize it?
So this is a fun sort of aviation physiology graph I found, which is not wholly accurate. You can get all of these at sort of like different heights. But so if you don't have enough oxygen in your blood, you get hypoxemia. If you don't have enough oxygen in your tissues, because of that, you get hypoxia. There are 4 types of hypoxia, of which only one is important to us, and it's a great piece of medical redundancy: hypoxic hypoxia. Which is just
What?
when your tissues don't have enough oxygen in them because they don't have enough oxygen in them.
Ah,
Um,
Okay,
that's what it
yeah.
says on the tin.
yeah, like the other ones are like, like fucking histotoxic hypoxia, where it's like because there's fucking shit in the way, or like cyanide or whatever that
Mm.
bonds preferentially, stuff like that. But yeah, hypoxia is there is not enough oxygen, therefore you are not getting enough oxygen in your tissues. And what happens when you don't get enough oxygen in your tissues is those tissues get impaired and die. And as we see here, we have a list of symptoms that sort of roughly correlates with how oxygen deprived you are and what altitude that tends to happen at. And
I'm
the
not a big fan of convulsions, cardiovascular collapse, and death. I'll tell
Well,
you that.
as you see,
Yeah.
convulsions, cardiovascular collapse, and death, along with CNS failure, is at the top end, right? Where you're
Yeah.
hitting sort of like 70 to 60% oxygen saturation. Um, Again, idiosyncratic, right? Depends on personal like physiology and stuff. This was also a COVID thing. Like people were getting like severely, severely hypoxic. Like they were getting
Right,
down into
right,
like
right.
50s and 40s, and they were like ostensibly fine, kind of thing. So this stuff is weird, but
Yeah.
what you may notice is the way that this comes on is sort of by stealth, right?
Mm.
Like you are slightly hypoxic. Your symptoms are decrease in night vision, drowsiness, impaired judgment, coordination, and efficiency. Like you might feel a bit drunk, you might feel a bit confused and slow, and then the confusion gets worse. So you have like sort of impaired control, impaired handwriting and speech. You're like less coordinated, and then the big stuff of and death, right?
Yeah. And this is like dependent on certain factors like where you grew up and stuff. I mean, I imagine
Mhm.
you maybe have a Sherpa pilot.
Right.
He's
You
gonna
could go to the moon and be fine. Right, of course.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
like
yeah.
he will go. He would have gone through this entire incident having no idea anything was wrong.
So factors affecting aviation hypoxia, fun stuff like genetics, like you say,
Yeah.
acclimatization, like in the same way that you can acclimate yourself to climb Mount Everest without oxygen, supplemental oxygen, if you're one of like some people. Um, just sheer dumb luck. Training
Sure.
potentially, like you
Oh,
train
those
like certain
insane
pilots
weird
to.
masks that Marshawn Lynch wore.
Yeah, if you want to do
Yeah.
some like Wim Hof shit, that might
Sure,
help.
sure.
Yeah.
But in general, the thing about this is I circle back to the stealth, right? Is uh it's a lot like carbon monoxide poisoning and a lot of other things with respiration, where it is possible to not respirate adequately, and not know.
Yes.
Don't like that, obviously.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's definitely a stealth problem.
So we're talking like the frog in boiling waters type of thing, where
We'll
you
get
don't.
there. I put
Oh,
another
Yeah.
slide about that
okay.
in where did I put this in? Slide 12. So we'll get to it in a minute. Okay, so
All
this
right.
is
Yeah.
this is another one I put.
Yeah.
So
From the documentary Goldfinger, of course.
yeah. So when you pressurize an airplane, what happens when you don't pressurize an airplane? And I've put some sort of like flagrant examples in of what happens when you sort of like grand mal decompress an airplane, right?
Of course.
Yes.
Explosive decompression. This is it's a fun thing you can do by blowing a hole in the side of the aircraft.
Right.
Yes.
And what tends to happen when you do that is you get sucked out of the aircraft and you get a free skydive with no parachute to the ground, as seen in the documentary Goldfinger, seen here.
Yes.
Um,
Wow, that set design is showing its age.
yeah, cool chairs though.
It's very nice chairs. These the old United livery is incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Right
gorgeous,
here.
isn't it?
But here's a big hole in the airplane that shouldn't be there.
No, that's weight savings. Don't worry about that. Speed hole.
But obviously, they did get that plane onto the ground.
Oh, it's
without-
happened. I'm sure
Yeah.
we'll talk
I
about
haven't
it in the
left
future.
one up there yet, man.
Yeah, you can land a plane with like a big part of the fuselage just gone. One of the reasons why they tell you to keep your seatbelt on, because if you're just up and walking around, you get sucked out.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, you can absolutely just ride out. I mean, you will have some problems, but you can absolutely ride one of these things out just like strapped into your seat, presumably
Probably would
pissing
like
and
to put
shitting
it-
yourself.
You probably would
Yeah.
like to put it down as quickly as possible, though.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing is, like, there's sort of a myth that, if there's like a small hole, all of a sudden you're going to have explosive decompression. Like, everything's going to get sucked into that one little hole. There's not that much difference in air pressure to make that work. That's why, air marshals can have guns, right?
Yeah, although weirdly that myth led to a kind of paranoia about this that led to them using frangible ammunition, which they don't really have as much reason to do. So I mean, it's partly that and partly like they don't want to shoot a guy and have it go through the guy and into like 5 passengers, but still,
Yeah,
some of it's
I-
just
I get the feeling that's the real reason that they're really highly trained in shooting, is that they have to shoot the bad guy in and amongst 500 people.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're all crammed together.
I have played the Mile High level in Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and I think that I would be an expert in this.
A real niche for like air marshal shooter games, given that it's some very precise shooting. But
I'm not very good at it. I almost always kill the hostage.
if anyone wants to do that for like a game jam or something. But yeah, so yeah, as you say, it's not a submarine. You're not going to like Byford dolphin your way out of a plane like that.
Mhm.
Right.
And then, of course, what happens if you lose pressure?
You don't get sucked out of the plane necessarily, but you can get like a small hole or whatever that does decompress the plane, sort of like over a period of time, a slow decompression. Um, it still like takes a minute either way, and so what you're supposed to do in this situation is like an alarm goes off in the cockpit. You declare an emergency because it is one, and then you as a passenger get a very frightening time as the oxygen masks that you were told about in the safety briefing you were hopefully paying attention to drop out of the ceiling. You secure your own mask before helping others.
Yes.
There actually isn't an oxygen tank, by the way. People think there is. This is like a submarine. It's a chemical oxygen generator.
Yes.
It'll just fire up a little chemical reaction that generates oxygen. And then you get to ride the seat downwards as they fling it from cruising altitude down to like I think it's like 10,000 feet.
You get it is
10,000 feet. I
You
believe
get the
is
vomit comet experience. Yes.
Yes,
Except only down. So
Right.
like it's I never. I mean, listen. There's a lot of worse things that can happen to you, right? If this happens to you, you're still very unlikely to die or even get injured. But like, oh boy,
you're descending 6,000 feet per minute, I believe, is the emergency descent rate, which I imagine would feel uncomfortable at the start and end. But maybe during the descent is not so bad. If everything's
there is going to be like a river of piss going uphill.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, yeah. I don't
think
that is true.
I don't think they're bringing the drinks cart round. Is my contention during this time.
You should be. I need it. I want my BAC to be 1.
But yeah, two masks come down. One for the alcohol, one for the vodka, and you just like go back and forth.
Right.
Wait, so it's alcohol and vodka.
Yeah. What? Oh, don't be mean.
Sorry. One for the oxygen, one for the vodka.
I see that Alice has entered the early stages of hypoxia, and
yeah, I should be like highly alarmed and immediately flinging myself out of the window of my flat to get to a lower altitude.
I would be. Poo would have come out for me. I've been in planes, some pretty rough turbulence, rougher than what Roz and I experienced, because I am not a goddamn baby when I fly. But yeah, this is pretty high on the Liam Fear Index. You see that shit. I don't want to ride the second half of Vomit Comet. I'll tell you that.
The other thing is that because it's sort of like one of the rare cases in like a lot of sort of like consumer experiences of a hard edge, right? In a world of sort of soft
Go on.
edges.
Tuning?
No, I
Oh.
think about this a fair amount, right? It's something that has no concession to like aesthetics or comfort because it's
Nope.
purely a safety measure. And so if you see, I don't have it in this picture, but if you see photos of like the oxygen mask on a plane deployed looking upwards, there's a real sense of like, I'm not supposed to be seeing a plane like this, of seeing the thing that they drop from with all the like tubing and cords and stuff. And it's like, oh, okay, this is a sort of like a curious state of exception from the norm of like things being glossed over for my benefit.
Right. This is the sudden realization that things have gone very poorly.
Yeah.
I think on the next slide we'll see things going even more poorly because I hope I never see this image ever again in my life.
He's got a thumbs up. What's not to
Yeah,
like?
he's
What's
like,
he
yep.
thumbing up? What is there a thumb up?
I should
Yeah,
say
everything's fine. I'm great up here. Y'all motherfuckers are have hypoxia back there, but we're chilling up here in the cabin. Fuck y'all.
Also-
Thanks for flying
also-
Spirit.
Also, he's on the ground, which means something has gone very wrong.
I should say that like you're hypoxic, I'm fine in here is a preeminent theory for the demise of MH370. So one thing that I should say is in this situation, the pilots are fine, which is good. You want them to be, because they have a separate air supply. It's a much longer air supply, and they have cool masks. And I didn't know this until I did the research for this. I thought I was used to the sort of like broadsword calling Danny Boy like sort of nasolabial mask. I guess at some point, like fairly recently, they added like a full face mask in case someone somehow manages to like CBRN the aircraft, in case somebody like sets off some like like a tear gas
the
grenade. in
dirty
the back or
bomb
whatever.
doesn't take it down, right?
Yeah,
Sure,
exactly. Like you have a sort of like full face seal, so that's cool. And they're fine. The idea is, even if you're not fine, they'll at least land the plane.
Yeah. Always useful if you can use the plane again, even if everyone dies.
Yeah, you just rinse out the
Never
river
left one
piss.
up there. I say as I clean the shit river out of the
It's a weird
sea.
flesh color kind of mask, which you seldom see a flesh tone mask. It's a little uncomfortable, but
I don't like that.
I found the sort of like bungee cord straps either.
At all.
May I have the next slide, please?
Yeah.
So there's a middle ground, right? So if you're not fine and the pilots are fine, the flight attendants are sort of fine. They're like more fine than you, less fine than the pilots, because they have these big honking scuba tanks to carry around. Because an important part of being a flight attendant is that you die last, apart from when you die first. And sort of put that on the job adverts, right? Like become a flight attendant, rarely die in the middle.
You'll go last, right?
Yeah,
Well,
but exactly. Yeah, die first in a hijacking, die last in a plane crash. Particularly this kind. Yeah, seldom die in the middle.
Yeah. And then, of course,
All right, I got some more aviation medicine for you.
I don't like time of useful consciousness being 15 to 20 seconds. I can fucking tell you that right now.
Yeah, it's a time of useful consciousness is like one way of
You're
describing it. I think,
fucked.
like useful
Yep.
decision time is another. So we see here this graphs with altitude and with how rapid the decompression is. But in practice, essentially, if you're at like a typical cruising altitude for a passenger airliner, in a slow decompression, you have 1 to 2 minutes of useful consciousness before you're like too coherent to do shit and you die. And in a rapid decompression, that's like 30 seconds. That time goes down the higher you get. Airplanes, they're not, depending on the phase of flight, potentially are sort of like gaining or losing altitude, and that's changing. But like, there's a bunch of different variables there. But the short version of this is that you have an alarmingly slow time to do something about hypoxia before you die of hypoxia.
yes.
And I should say, if the way that you detect hypoxia is essentially like either an alarm goes off to warn you, or you notice that you feel weird within 30 seconds to 2 minutes. And if you don't do that, well, I mean, remember how one of the symptoms is confusion? Gets a
Yes.
fuck of a lot harder to work out that you are feeling confused when you are
As we'll see.
confused.
Yes.
Yes.
You get the sort of Psyduck syndrome.
Yeah, you get a sort of like powerful sense of unease. And as someone who regularly experiences a powerful sense of unease for no fucking reason whatsoever,
Right, yeah.
it's not ideal, you know?
You start actually feeling more normal.
Yeah. It's one of the I mean
Should be alarmed. You may be experiencing hypoxia.
it's a good reason to have an independent scientific objective measurement of the partial pressure of oxygen in the air.
Yeah. So with that, let's talk about our airline today.
Oh, that's a
Helios-
high budget logo.
High budget logo, yeah.
Here comes
Helios,
the sun.
Helios Airways, right? So let's talk about this company. I'm not entirely certain of the accuracy of this. I tried to sort of piece this together because this is sort of a fly-by-night airline of which there seem to be quite a lot,
So to
especially in
speak.
Europe.
I'm looking at
blame
you,
that on the sort of,
EasyJet,
like-
you sons of whores.
Well, I was gonna say the rise of the cheap package holiday deal really like was a windfall for these guys and was
I was
facilitated
about
by
to
them.
say I could have 50 airlines using 30 planes. We just have to repaint them when we do the turnaround.
Yeah, I mean, like people say that one of the things that's going to have to be a consequence of climate change is air travel going back to being a luxury, and it's like, well, it kind of already is if you're
Yeah.
not flying on a budget carrier.
This is true. Yeah, I mean,
The kind of flying that's accessible to normal people is like this, or like EasyJet, or like Air Berlin, or whatever the fuck.
Yeah. So, Helios Airways, right? They started out as a different company called TEA Cyprus, and they were trying to fulfill the vision of the ideal airline. So we've talked about the ideal railroad before, which
does nothing.
owns no tracks and runs no trains.
Right.
The ideal airline owns no planes and employs no pilots or flight attendants.
Yeah, it's Roz's ideal because it's an airline that's actually just a railroad.
Well, so TEA Cyprus facilitates the ideal airline by owning airplanes and employing crews and leasing them out. This is called a wet lease, right?
I don't like the phrase wet lease.
Well, in the airline industry, there's a wet lease and a dry lease.
That makes
Sort
sense.
of a moist lease. Clammy lease.
Yeah.
Oh, don't say clammy lease. No thanks.
That's like when you buy a house and it's got mold in it.
No. Let's not go down that path, please.
If I'm an airline, but I don't want to fly planes and I don't want to employ people, I can instead wet lease a plane. I get the plane, I get the crew, I get the support for both. Typically on a 24-month contract or something like that.
Oh, gross! I don't want to move the sort of like
same as a cell phone.
You're not an employee; you're a contractor model from delivering packages to delivering packages like
that are people.
That are people. Right. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. British people to Spain.
So hypothetically, here on Roz Airlines,
the like pilots having to like piss into a bottle up front.
Oh my god!
I mean, that's
kind of Roz would run an airline better than that. I think.
I mean, that's kind of closer to like I cannot stress enough how overworked all flight crew are.
Oh yeah. Especially the miserable turnaround flights, like that shit is just.
So this is great for these like packaged vacation deal companies and charter airlines, stuff like that. It's also been used to get around bans on flying planes into certain countries. So, for example, a long time, Egypt Air was banned from flying into Israel. So they created a company called Air Sinai, and they wet leased their own planes to themselves.
Outstanding.
They painted them a different color, flew them into Ben Gurion International Airport. No one gave a shit.
It's like the same Egypt airplane, but it's got like a big fake mustache and Groucho glasses on the front of it.
Yeah,
Everything's fine.
it's like the Air Israel plane from Airplane.
Fuck yeah.
So on the other hand, a dry lease just gets you the plane, right?
Mm.
You don't get the crew or the support or just nothing like that. You just get the plane. This is useful knowledge for all y'all when you start your own airline.
Bound to
Which
happen.
I understand is what the millennials are into right now.
Oh yeah, pronouns and starting their own airlines. I mean, because like
Yes.
it's only really like flag carriers and stuff that own
She,
planes
they
outright.
airline.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, actually owning the airplane is like increasingly uncommon, just like owning anything.
Right.
I mean, all these companies have done the
get it
millennial
on
renty thing
paying for
Yeah.
for a commercial airliner.
Oh,
yeah.
that I don't want to fly on the plane that's being paid for by Klarna. Fuck me.
You
Yeah.
do.
3 easy monthly installments of like.
Listen, if you can get a luxury good in paying 4 installments, it's not a luxury good anymore. Looking your way, Gucci.
A lot of
Get
big
their ass.
industrial equipment like this is actually, it's financed through some very convoluted
Yes.
structure where it looks
I used
like
to work at a company that wrote the software that handled this.
Well, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the audience.
I literally
I was
do a
just
podcast
adding,
for like.
I was just fuck you, man.
I've literally done a podcast for like 5 fucking years about how every finance thing is a series of scams, and I still have it in me to be like shocked and concerned by this. Yeah, genuinely.
So this wet leasing company
Fuck
had
you.
bigger.
Yeah, what's up?
The podcast that hates each other.
Yeah. This
Go ahead,
leasing company, TEA, had bigger ambitions. They're like, sometime in the late 90s, they had this bright idea.
We
Well,
want to
had the
be a
cruise.
railroad too.
I look into some ICC filings back in the 50s about that. So sometime in the late 90s, they had a bright idea. We got the cruise, we got the planes. Why don't we become a scheduled airline?
No, you're giving away free money by actually trying to provide a service.
Get out of here.
The opposite of the way the economy tends.
So this, as I understand, I think I may be missing some parts here because again, it's hard to track down the actual corporate genealogy of these things. But Helios Airways is born, right? And eventually, they have enough business that they start dry leasing aircraft, including today's subject, a Boeing 737 with the tail number 5B DBY from Deutsche Structured Finance and Leasing.
Oh no,
that's ominous. That's
Yeah.
real. This is like,
you know my joke about Corinne being Sky Hitler.
this is going to be the worst, like the worst ever interaction of German and Greek finance in European history. I'm pretty certain.
Oh no, they're from Cyprus.
Oh, different. What?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, well, it's kind of, it kind of still works if you assume that I'm like a big sort of like supporter of Cypriot enosis.
Yes. I mean, everyone's mad at the Turks. That's what matters.
Yeah, big handshake, man.
Right.
I also enjoy the sort of like uninterrupted 5 seconds of blustering noises as I groped my way towards a sort of like explanation for myself there. That's like, I'm not stupid.
So this is the plane. She's a Boeing.
Ugly.
737 31S.
Tail. Sorry.
First flown in 1997.
I mean, listen, the plane's not ugly. I apologize to the plane. It's like a beautiful woman wearing ugly makeup. It's the livery. It's like very much the like this was the cheapest thing available kind of thing.
Oh, sure. Yeah, this was designed in GIMP, not in Photoshop. In GIMP.
I have GIMP. Like,
yeah, I have GIMP too.
Because we're cheap. We're blowing the money on headphones. We respect them enough not to blow the money on like Adobe subscriptions. For fuck's sake.
I have Photoshop.
Okay, well, 2 of us respect them enough not to blow their money on Adobe subscriptions.
This was delivered to the low-cost airline DBA Luftfahrtgesellschaft
Yeah,
M-
it says
MBA
fart in here. It
Air
says
Travel Society. It just means Air Travel Society.
No, it says fart in here.
Yeah. This is now part of Air Berlin.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually it's bought by the leasing company, leased to Helios, right? I'm not entirely sure of when that happened.
Again, it's remarkable how opaque. Like to ask a question like points at plane, who owns you, is like requires a sort of quite convoluted financial investigation.
Now you have to find who you're not allowed to criticize.
Okay. So here's the thing about that quote, right? That was a Nazi who said that.
That was a Nazi who said
Okay.
that.
Yeah, you're not allowed to
I
say
just
that
want to make
anymore.
sure you
Yeah.
know
Not
that was
Voltaire.
not right. I just want us to clarify that. Please do come to our live show.
Yeah, we will tell you more things you're not allowed to say.
God damn it, Alice.
Mm.
So this arrives at Larnaca International Airport. I don't know if that's.
Good
I don't know how to pronounce that.
Larnaca would be my
Larnaca?
guess, but it's
maybe
on
Larnaca.
Moving on
Cyprus. Like I
swiftly.
don't know.
Yeah, I don't know any either.
Cyprus has that same thing as Malta, where it's like two in the middle of the Mediterranean for a lot of the names to make sense, because it's like a mishmash of like Turkish stuff, Greek
Everything,
stuff,
right.
Arab stuff. It's like weird crusaders coming through, Venetians. Yeah.
Yeah. Arrives at Larnaca International Airport 1:25 a.m. local time on August 14th, 2005. It came in from London. And he was due to fly out to Prague via Athens at 9 a.m. This is not a short turnaround time. It's not a particularly long one either.
Imagine getting the red eye to Cyprus from London. That's like weird. Like getting
That's
in
a
at like
weird
1
flight.
in the morning. Yeah.
I was about to say that's barely a red eye. That's more of a
Normal
Pink
eye.
eye.
that's more of a disruption to your sleep schedule.
Yeah, because you'll be shitting.
Yeah.
No? All right. I tried. It's fine.
What is that? Like a 4-hour flight?
If that.
5 hours? Yeah.
It's like London to like London, Paris is like 1 hour. Berlin is 2 hours. Probably like 3.5.
3.5 hours. So I got on the plane at like midnight, and I get out at 1:20.
Weird vibes.
Yeah.
Weird
Yeah, you
vibes.
get off. Yeah, right. You get on.
I figured,
off
do you get
right.
more time going that way or less?
It's like ahead of London, so
Time zones are hard.
yeah. I just think about how fucked it is being in an airport sort of like late at night or really, really early in the morning. Like airports are weird places at the best of times, but like an empty sort of like 1 a.m. airport. Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So
come to Cyprus, see the like beautiful sun, sea, and sand, or don't.
don't. Yeah.
Don't.
The previous flight crew had reported problems with one of the aft service doors. It was making loud bangs and strange sounds. And they wanted to
like
check.
a trans woman getting into synthesizers.
Yes. They wanted the ground crew to check for leaks. This particular door had a history behind it. In December 2004, when it actually caused a rapid decompression and forced an emergency descent and landing.
Yeah, a bunch of guys got sucked out of the windows like Goldfinger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So no, there were no fatalities.
No,
on
shut
that
up. Yes,
one.
there were.
Gert Frove got sucked out of the window and they covered it up. Yeah.
She suck on my goldfinger. No.
Yeah, sure. No, follow that.
She suck on my goldfinger until I explosively decompress. That actually kind of works.
She suck on my goldfinger till I pussy galore. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you. Yeah, mic drop. That's outstanding.
She did fly planes.
Yes.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah. So the ground crew went and did those tests.
Mm-hmm. So Liam, I believe this is your cue.
Yeah.
Right. So you may be thinking, why is there a joke about I write sins, not tragedies? I chimed in with a haven't you people ever heard of closing a goddamn door?
Mm-hmm.
Because here's the thing. They didn't close the goddamn door. So I stole this directly from one of the flight reports, either the Greek one or the English one. I can't remember which one. The aircraft arrived at Larnaca, Cyprus at 1:25 a.m. in the early morning. It says 1:25 a.m. in the morning. 14 August 2005. That was just a couple weeks ago. During the flight from London to Larnaca, the cabin crew wrote in the cabin log that the aft
that
service
was
door.
18 years ago, actually.
What did I say? That was just.
You said it was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I meant 14 August, dude.
I mean, 2005. 2005 is like.
Don't fucking tell me 2005 was 18 years ago.
No,
please.
I wasn't. I was going to say 2005 is like 5 years in the future.
Yeah. It's 2002. 9/11 has just happened. We're all transformed as a people.
The problem is, if you are 9 years old in 2000, you learn to calculate every date to 2000, and so the 80s were 20 years ago, the 70s were 30 years ago. It's a nice round number. It is currently 23 years into the future. We're so old, dude.
Hi, it's Justin. So this is a commercial for the podcast that you're already listening to. People are annoyed by these, so let me get to the point. We have this thing called Patreon, right? The deal is you give us $2 a month, and we give you an extra episode once a month. Sometimes it's a little inconsistent, but it's $2. You get what you pay for. It also gets you our full back catalog of bonus episodes, so you can learn about exciting topics like guns, pickup trucks, or pickup trucks with guns on them. The money we raise through Patreon goes to making sure that the only ad you hear on this podcast is this one. Anyway, that's something to consider if you have $2 to spare each month. Join at patreon.com/WTYP pod. Do it if you want. Or don't. It's your decision, and we respect that. Back to the show.
Right. So the aft service door, the door had frozen and hard bangs had heard during the flight.
Yeah, the door seal froze. Like the rubber seal around it like froze solid.
Right. And there was a request for the aft service door to have a full inspection. So ground engineer number 1 reviews the entries in the technical log and determined that an aft service door visual inspection and a cabin pressurization leak check would be required. He realized that he needs some help in performing that leak check. Therefore, he asked ground engineer number 2 to assist him in a pressure run/test. Another company engineer, ground engineer number 3, authorized only on the Boeing 737-800 aircraft, was awaiting the arrival of that aircraft, assisted as safety man positioned outside the aircraft and to listen to any sounds of air leaking from the aircraft.
Okay, cool. So these 3 dudes.
So we know that there's a problem, and the good news is that nothing bad is going to happen. We're safety third.
Yeah, we have got 3 men on the case.
Yes, it's an episode of Top Gear.
This is where we have to learn about the procedure for checking the airplane for leaks.
Speaking of seeing stuff you're not meant to see, this is like curiously intimate view of the aircraft here.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I feel like I.
Here's
tugging at my collar to see the door.
Yeah, it's lewd. That's what it is.
Yeah. Here's what you do to check the aircraft for leaks. You pressurize it on the ground.
Smart. Way easier than doing it in the air.
Yeah. Well, I'd say they're about as easy. Well, hard to check for leaks on the outside when you're flying.
Just climb around on the outside. We've got a guy from the Pakistani army and a helicopter. He's gonna go down on a winch.
Can you fly this thing any slower? No.
No, sorry.
Yeah, scheduled passenger service with the the IL-2.
So you pressurize the plane on the ground, so you bring the whole thing up to slightly higher than atmospheric pressure, right? You've done the tests, and you figured out either it's fine, or you're like, you know how to fix it, or you know where the leak is. You have a problem, which the aircraft is pressurized. And you can't just, open the door, because then you'll have rapid decompression in the airplane. You might break something, or the door might kill you, Yeah. So that's not a good option.
People, have you ever had that sort of like intrusive thought on a plane? It's like, oh God, what if someone like tries to fling the door open from the inside?
Yes.
Pressure is you can only do that under 10,000 feet.
Yeah, pressure is in your favor. It can be done, but not when the pressure, because it pushes in to maintain the integrity of the pressure vessel, a bit like a submarine. But it's very, very dangerous if you are on the outside trying to open the door and it's pressurized.
Now, Another option is to wait for the air to leak out of the plane naturally through the seams in the doors and so on and so forth. It's certainly practical, but if the airplane has got to move now, you got to do the repairs now. So you got to have a third option. So there's a safety valve in the back of the plane and then a big door to let air out more rapidly, right? So this prevents overpressurization of the cabin, which could happen if you leave the bleed air on for too long, and can vent air pressure on command or as needed. This is controlled in the cockpit by a digital pressure control panel, the DCPC. That's this instrument here.
You can
right?
buy like a replica one of these for like $249.99 from Flight Sim, and you know the home flight simulator is not complete without it.
No.
Oh, amazing! You could simulate the usual pilot experience of using it, which is just leaving it on auto all the time and not paying attention to it.
If you think
Have I
that's
got
not a
news for
crucial
you?
part of flight simulation. No, the way that I like to play this video game, that I have spent £10,000 of my own money and transformed one room of my house into like a dedicated space for, is to run checklists, and the checklists show me that I should leave it alone.
I should not touch this. Yeah.
I respect flight sim people so much.
Yeah, it's like, okay, listen, there's like maybe a dozen controls max that you have to touch when flying a commercial airliner. Let's get real.
You just have to know the other 10,000 so that you know not
Yeah,
to touch them.
Right.
Because like not touching it because you know what it does is very different from not touching it because you don't.
Yes, this is true. So yeah, this is one of the millions of switches and dials and screen and so on. This is above the pilots on the ceiling, I want to say. In flight, you usually set this to automatic. That means it automatically maintains some pressure equivalent to some flight altitude in the cabin, right? But if you're the ground crew and you're doing maintenance, you switch it to man, right? Which is the opposite of automatic.
No, it's the opposite of zone, but whatever.
Yeah. So it's that's manual, right? And then it's like, well, I can open and close this door however I want for any reason.
You're not the boss of it.
Yeah. So, you're the ground crew. You've manually pressurized the plane to check for problems. You go up in the cockpit, you switch it to manual, you open the door, and then you're done with your checks. You can start working on the problem. So they did that. They fixed the problem. The procedures at Helios Airways had set up instructed the ground crew to, quote, put the airplane back to its usual condition, unquote, at the end of tests and repairs.
Yeah. So help me God, it better be the way that I found it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of vague. I will say that. So what wound up happening is this remained in the manual position, right? Which had this big ass door open the whole way. So this is bad form, but it should have been a huge problem, as checking the DCPC is in the pre-flight checks and the takeoff checks and the post-takeoff checks. Someone should catch this.
This is why you have to know what all the shit does, even if not to touch it, is because the one time in a million you actually need to touch it, it's going to be on like 3 different checklists, and that's why you have to love checklists.
Yes, you gotta do the checklist.
And then once you see that on the checklist, you go,
check it.
They left that in the wrong thing. Flip the
No big
the
deal,
little dial
of
on the
course.
bottom, like
Right.
over 2 positions. Problem
Not
solved.
dying of that today.
We could have died in an interesting way if I hadn't done that very simple thing.
Have I got
It's a good
news
thing it's
for
on
you?
3 separate checklists. That's kind of maybe that's why they make us do that. Interesting. This has been a learning moment for me in my career. I somehow got to be like pilot of a commercial airliner without learning this, but I'm discovering for the first time that there's actually a reason for this, and it's not some kind of Kafkaesque torture system.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, maybe I will just skip that one because I don't want to fill out the near miss paperwork. We'll just stay under 10,000.
It's like creeping, like nap of the earth, sort of like airline flying. The never gonna pick us up on radar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the flight plan's already programmed into the autopilot, right?
Yeah, I mean,
So-
doing that's half the fucking work. You got to like
Right.
to type in a bunch of shit. And
Yeah, it's like, there's a little dial you have to do. You're gonna set the flight
there's so many
level. You're
fucking
gonna,
little dials. Ridiculous.
yeah. I don't know how they do it. Those things are confusing. I would expect there to be a keyboard or something.
There
where
are
you-
little keyboards on Airbuses. Yeah, if you want to die by wire, there's little like
Yeah,
they just
so the
type
little
in.
the like MDT things. You can just beep 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 beep, beep set easy.
Oh yeah, you just type it in and say Athens, and it says turn left onto taxiway 3B.
I mean, like I know about this because I instead of playing flight simulators, I watch other people play them because it like it soothes a part of my brain. And I have seen a guy program in a little like flight path thing on an Airbus, and it is literally you have your waypoints and you type those in. It's kind of annoying and unergonomic and a little bit unclear, but and quite time consuming, but fuck of a lot simpler than doing it with like a slide rule on a map,
Yeah. So flight 522 rolled on down the runway and took off. Then some weird stuff started happening.
Mm-hmm.
So, they're ascending to about 10,000 feet, and they hear the little boom, that happens in the aircraft cabin when you reach 10,000 feet,
Yes.
which is not a warning that the plane's wings are going to fall off.
Just no
But there's a
prospects.
certain type of flyer who assumes that even though they know better.
You can say my name, it's fine.
Yeah.
He can also say his own name.
Yeah. In the cockpit, however, the pilots heard the takeoff configuration warning alarm.
You've set your flaps wrong, idiot.
Yeah,
back and do it
exactly.
again.
Hey, fuck
Go
it.
back, gotta do it. Go
So,
around, take off again.
A real sort of like a bane for the aviator to be like, you have just done 2 or 3 checklists. You got to do them all again because you fucked up.
Uh-huh.
Your flaps are at like 5 degrees the wrong angle.
Yeah,
Go
yeah.
back and do your homework again.
Yeah. You're gonna have to fly back to the airport and take off again properly. So this alarm sounds when there's something wrong with the plane. Maybe the flaps are configured incorrectly. The autopilot's on, something that can affect the ability of the plane
Wings are
to
gonna
take
fall
off properly.
Mm.
Yeah, the wings are going to fall off. You have a passenger who is, they're trying to call the flight attendant, but they keep pushing the engine fall off button.
You have a flight attendant who has like severe anxiety and OCD and is about to cause the plane to crash by virtue of, I don't know, magical thinking.
Didn't like how the slats were set up. But this thing, it had been about 4 minutes since takeoff, though, so this alarm shouldn't sound after the plane is taken off. So the pilots started jiggling a bunch of controls.
This here is a lesson.
Switches,
is like
they're doing stuff.
The plane is giving me an alarm that makes no sense. Therefore, this plane dumb as hell. I'm going to ignore it.
Yes.
Yes.
So they tried a bunch of stuff with like auto throttle, autopilot, so on and so forth. They throttled down, they throttled back up again. They stopped climbing for a bit, then they started again. But they're just trying to, shut the damn plane up, right? And they're cleared to 34,000 feet. Now there's also simultaneously they're being shown issues with the cooling fans, right? Because the bleed air coming off the engine is very hot. So you need these big beefy fans on the air conditioning unit and, to cool the plane, to cool everything else, So for some reason, these are not functioning properly. And the pilots were like, well, how the hell have we fixed this, right?
Well, I mean, that's one sort of... It's a thing that makes more sense than something cannot be apped. Like, obviously, the fucking thing is, it doesn't matter if it's correctly configured for takeoff. So we're going to solve this problem.
We're going to solve this problem. Yeah.
I'm just going to refer you back to slide 7 here, the one with the graph of the plane going up altitude with the sort of like symptoms of hypoxia, and say that like in the course of climbing, you're now at like, say you're at 10,000 feet or whatever. That's where your sort of like oxygen sats are hitting like the 90s to the 80s, and you're getting drowsiness, impaired judgment, coordination, and efficiency. Just for reference.
So the pilot radioed the company dispatcher, began running off sort of a checklist until a member of the ground crew
Oh, another
suggested to
checklist.
check.
Thank fuck.
Yeah.
Welcome
check-
to commercial aviation. Yeah.
Check if your DCPC is set to automatic.
Oh, this thing I like only use for checklists and never look at otherwise.
Never look at. That's probably fine. Now the captain ignored this and radioed back, "Where are my equipment cooling circuit breakers?"
Yep.
Right? And then there's silence after that.
Incidentally, I just noticed one little detail in the accident report, which is the pilot in command, the captain, Hans-Jürgen Merten, is described in the accident report thusly: his East German heritage meant he was likely a man of few words who was not very comfortable around people, which is so fucking he flew for Interflug, the DDR's airline, for like 20 years. And this is like having someone in your incident report be like, yeah, the pilot was Polish, so he probably crashed because he was trying to open the screen door.
Yeah. It's like, well, don't you know, communism causes autism.
This is why the DDR was the greatest like attempt to implement communism, was like its consideration for the German autistic character. No, genuinely, it's like, the pilot was Greek, so he was probably fucking smashing plates up there.
Yeah.
Just like
just going through the stereotypes.
Yeah,
right.
yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, but I mean, he was English. Probably he couldn't see the control panel over his protruding teeth.
He's from the Czechoslovak SSR. He was probably trying to invent an elaborate pneumatic tube system to do the flying for him, with lots of little brass gears and stuff.
Yeah, he was a Dutch pilot. He couldn't see because he was too busy applying blackface makeup. We should reinvestigate Tenerife, you know?
Yeah. All right, so in the cockpit, people are getting increasingly confused. In a cabin, it's fairly obvious what is going on, all right? At 18,000 feet, the oxygen mask dropped, and that helps you out as a passenger, but they only have about 12 minutes of juice in them.
Yeah, and what are you going to do? Get up from your seat where the mask is tethered, by the way.
Yeah.
Knock on the door and be like, excuse me, I think you guys are flying the plane wrong.
Yeah.
Did you guys do your checklists?
Well, we'll get to that in a second. This is good enough for an emergency descent, not so good if no one was able to initiate this emergency descent. So someone was going to have to get to the cockpit and figure out what the hell was going on.
Getting dangerously close to the joke about I want to die peacefully in my sleep, like my father, not screaming and crying like the passengers in his car. Sort of thing.
So we got to talk about the cockpit door. There were these two flight attendants, Andreas Prodromo, and
Haris Karalambos, boyfriend and girlfriend, by the way.
Yes.
Andreas is like a pilot. He's got like a commercial pilot's license, not for jets, though, I don't think.
Yeah.
He like agrees to cover this shift because his girlfriend's gonna do it. And it's like kind of shitty, you know.
So it's an actual airplane type situation.
Oh, genuinely, yeah. And remember, they have the like big honking scuba tank looking things from earlier.
Yeah, so they have the big scuba tank things. So they have a lot more oxygen than everyone else. And so they're conscious throughout the entire flight, right? They have a chance of, they want to get up to the controls and correct the cabin pressure issue or figure out what's going on at least. Or at least maybe, they want to they want to get to the cockpit and see what's going on. Sure. Because, the emergency descent that's supposed to happen is not happening.
Mm-hmm.
But they faced a problem, which has caused many problems for all of us. 9/11.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So after the September 11th attacks, there was a new push to universalize the practice of locking the cockpit doors so that the terrorist hijackers who have presumably subdued all the passengers can't enter the cockpit and take control of the plane and 9/11 it.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with 9/11 is, like, obviously a lot of downsides. It did briefly make it way easier to organize home-built cableways in rural Pakistan.
This is true, yes. You got to take the good with the bad.
Sure. Helps a lot of people get to work on time. Impossible to say whether it's good or bad.
Exactly. So this presents a problem for a lot of normal communication between the flight deck and the flight attendants, right? sometimes it's useful to just be able to walk in and say, I just want to tell you all good luck. We're all counting on you. Right.
It's also a key part of doubtless future episode. My worst fucking nightmare plane disaster, the German wings crash where the guy like fucking kamikazes it into a mountainside.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of downsides to this practice. I was going to mention it later. I did not take too many notes on it, but this was something the airline industry as a whole was against until 9/11 happened. Like, this is probably going to cause a lot more problems than it solves. And
they were right. Like,
I think they were right on that case.
Number of like disasters with loss of all hands due to impenetrable cockpit door, at least 2. Number of subsequent 9/11s prevented? Question mark, right? But like,
well, think about if the shoe bomb guy had been able to get in the cockpit,
or if the underwear guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, like, genuinely, you cannot like not as a member of flight crew set foot within 2 steps or even 20 steps of a cockpit door without everybody in first class lying on top of you until you die of positional asphyxia. And we know this because people have tried.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think one of the things that really prevented another 9/11 happening was 9/11. I mean, because it used to be hijacking.
Sort of only strike gold like that once, right? Yeah.
Hijacking was an exciting adventure to Cuba, and now it's a less exciting adventure to being smashed into a building. Everyone's going to try.
Put it on the quotes page.
Oh God.
So,
people think I don't remember the fact that we have a TV tropes page with like a religiously updated list of quotes. Whoever's doing that, I see you.
So, if you're trying to hijack a plane for a nefarious purpose such as murdering everyone, people are going to Flight 93 you.
Yeah. I mean, genuinely, the only way to hijack a plane now is first become a pilot, and then if you do that, it is impossible to stop you. But like, we have accidentally like made it like a foolproof method, provided you become a commercial pilot first. The German wings thing, arguably MH370. It's probably gonna happen again. Pilot hijacking, it's a real thing. We have made it like impossible to do anything about now, which is not great.
Exactly. And I believe like the senior steward or flight attendant is allowed to have the lock combination and no one else. So if they're incapacitated, that is an issue. So this is a situation which is not great. It's not great that, you have 2 people who are capable of solving the situation, but they are prevented from doing so by big government regulations.
Yeah.
So we now have a ghost flight.
Yeah, they're trying to like presumably batter the door down, which is nightmare shit. The passengers are presumably running out of oxygen, seeing this happen, which is like, listen, there's a lot of like respiratory stuff. Like hypoxia, potentially, of all the ways to die, you could do a lot worse. You kind of like fall asleep, right? And then whatever happens to you after that happens.
Not like carbon dioxide poisoning, which is similar but much worse.
Yeah. It's similar to like stuff with like nitrogen displacement. So you just like fall asleep, right? The problem is, if you fall asleep in the midst of a plane disaster where you're seeing 2 flight attendants try to beat the cockpit door down, I think that's significantly less relaxing.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of more of a problem. But yeah, it eventually, pretty soon, everybody, definitionally, but by virtue of the fact the altitude is unconscious, apart from these 2.
Yeah, these 2, and maybe like there's a Sherpa guy in the back.
Yeah, but he's too busy.
Fuck do you want me to do about it?
Yeah, right. I'm gonna sit here. You told me remain buckled. I am remaining buckled.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that'd be pretty awkward if he had like a
the seatbelt light is on.
Ice axe on him, All right, so we got a ghost flight. There's no one actually in control of the plane except the autopilot.
Yeah, the autopilot does a pretty good job, all things considered.
Yeah, it just flies straight there. No problem whatsoever.
You can program a route into it. It follows the route, and no one even really. I mean, aside from the fact that no one's talking.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Like, okay, nobody's answering the radio. That's a concern, but like,
that's a
honestly,
problem,
pilots fuck up with their radios like way more than like
A lot.
again another thing that like 9/11 really fucked with the commercial air industry's shit was the fact that you had to be in like constant contact when more often than I'd like to admit people got like wrong frequencies and stuff and just kind of like was kind of okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, planes like to stay up. They're able to do that.
Yeah, exactly. So this is photograph which I got from the actual FAA website, which is
Huh.
apparently fake.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, it's fake, but
Yeah,
There is
well, it was on the FAA website
under
in an
like
explainer on this incident.
as an
That's
example of
fun.
misinformation. Yeah. I mean, apparently there is the Hellenic Air Force did take video footage of this. You will never see it. We will never see it. That is in like a filing cabinet. But
So, sort of a timeline here. The plane took off at 9:07. The air conditioning problem was reported at 9:14, right? The plane reached altitude at 9:23, and it made it to Athens airspace and entered a holding pattern at 9:37.
If you go back to that time of useful consciousness, again, sort of academic, but yeah, you got like 3 minutes.
Very, very short flight, I will say that. And at 9:37, it started happily flying in circles for a while Athens air traffic control spends a full hour and 13 minutes trying to contact it.
I mean, again, understandable because, like, if you don't have communications necessarily and you're trying to fix it and you're busy running through infinity checklists, stay in a holding pattern, you're not doing anything that weird. You're not, like, pointing it at the Pentagon or, I guess, in this case, the Acropolis, right? Like, so, you know, you keep watching the things, you keep calling them on the radio, and it's like,
Well.
So at about 10:54, the Athens Joint Rescue Coordination Center was notified of a possible rogue aircraft. So naturally, the fighters were done over easy.
Hell yeah, F-16s.
The fighters were benedicted.
Yep.
They were
poached.
It was a fighter omelet. It was a fighter
oh my god,
shakshuka.
That one's actually pretty good.
It's when you like get cubes of sajuk into the sauce into the fighters. Export F-16s, man, I love them. Gives me some real Arsenal of Democracy feelings. I don't know why. Just be like, it's sort of the generation ago as fighters, and you know now they're going to Ukraine, so yeah.
So they scrambled the F-16s. I don't know if it was like a hard or a soft scramble. Sometimes I think there's merits to both, but I think a soft scramble is a lot better if it's on its own, but a hard scramble is better if you're like putting it on a F-16 bacon and cheese sandwich, you know.
God, dude.
Anyway, so
fuck you.
They make visual contact with the plane around 11:23, and by 11:32, the nature of the problem has been discovered. The oxygen has been deployed, and everyone's slumped over in their seats, including the pilots.
I feel as if a visual contact undersells how fucking insane it is that it's still fly the plane next to it and eyeball it, like literally, like whoop. Look out the canopy, look in the windows.
Can you see anything in there?
And they presumably had to get close enough to be able to say, yeah, the oxygen masks are down. Like,
you think they got binoculars or something?
Honestly, probably not. Like,
just looking through it.
Like, way,
because you got to fly, do the thing.
That's some real formation shit.
So that's something that was almost, but not quite miraculous happened.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this one's the slide that makes you sad.
Yeah.
The flight that makes you sad instantly.
The flight that makes you sad over the period of about 2 to 3 minutes, depending on physiology.
The flight that kills you very slowly.
I wouldn't say 12. It's fine.
So Andreas Prodromo and Harris
enough.
Andreas Prodromo and Harris Charalambous. Which are these two? Andreas is on the right, Harris is on the left. The two flight attendants.
Yeah. So we don't know how they did it, but they did it.
They
got into
took the knowledge of how to commit another 9/11 to their graves.
Yes, this is true.
Jesus.
What? They broke the fucking unbreakable
They
cockpit
broke
door
the
down.
unbreakable door, yeah.
Which is kind of a like, if nothing else, another point against the unbreakable cockpit
'Cause
door.
it's not
is
unbreakable.
Clearly, it's
not so unsinkable now, is it?
Yeah, like clearly you can get through it if you're like determined enough and you have enough time.
Yeah. They could have gotten some help from the Sherpa guy in the back who's just like reading a newspaper, you know. So they got in the cockpit, right, around 11:54. The plane has been circling Athens for around 2 hours and 20 minutes at this point, which is longer than the flight.
Grim.
So he gets in the cockpit. Andreas gets in the cockpit. He gives the F-16 pilots a wave from the cockpit.
In a sort of like, I am not Al-Qaeda sort of way.
Yeah, I'm not an Al-Qaeda guy. He gets to work trying to fly the damn plane. He's got a UK commercial pilot's license, but he's never flown a 737 before.
Yeah, pretty big jump apart from anything else. I should also say, that, like, a commercial pilot's license doesn't necessarily like mean much in this context. Doesn't even mean jets. Just means like you can take paying passengers. It can literally be a Cessna. Like,
Yeah, exactly. So now the big problem was that literally within 1 minute of when they got in the cockpit, the left engine flamed out.
Yeah. Read that. I was just like, oh man, like, god damn it.
Damn it. He sent out 3 maydays, but there wasn't a lot to be done at this point, right?
I have a really like heartbreaking detail here, which is because he doesn't know how to work the radios on a 737. They're still tuned to Larnaca instead of Athens. So he sends out these 3 maydays that like are barely heard there and not at all in Athens.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Saw that. That was pretty fucking heartbreaking.
It's pretty heartbreaking. I mean, the whole thing is. It's like, what can he do other than steer the plane away from populated areas, which he does.
Right.
Yeah, he manages to like set it to a not 9/11ing the Acropolis course heroically, and then the number 2 engine flames out also.
They say of the Acropolis, where the Parthenon is,
there are no 9/11s.
There's no 9/11s. Yes. This is where there was an alternate timeline where they get in 10 minutes earlier and they can do something about it. I mean, I don't think it's completely unrealistic that you could have air traffic control try and talk them down.
I do. I have a fun theory about this because one of the statistics I think about the most is number of people who believe that they could like land a commercial airliner if the pilots are incapacitated. There is polling on that, and man, it's like I think it's only like 5%.
Regret to inform you.
it's literally it's like I think it's something like 5% of women, but like 20% of men.
Oh yeah, I absolutely fucking believe I can do it. If I had ground control talk me down, absolutely no fucking problem, Al.
But they tested this too, and this is my favorite part. Was they tested this by putting a sample of people with no training in like training flight simulators, and no chance.
This is a person who's actually a pilot, though.
I mean, I guess.
Yeah.
He's just not trained on the 737, right?
Yeah, he's not trained on the 737. I don't know what his familiarity with like autopilot and stuff is like, but this is something that, all right, you're very close to the airport. You have a fully functioning airplane. You have limited fuel, but like this is a landing. This is also like a modern airport with like all the instruments to get you down to the runway.
Sure.
You're looking at a problem which is less, I have to learn to fly this plane more. I have to learn to set the autopilot.
I'm still dubious.
I think there's a lot of issues here that would have, sort of impaired the ability to do stuff. But I think if you had 10, 20 more minutes of fuel, you would have had a much better situation. Now, if you have one engine flamed out, that's a different situation.
Right.
If he managed to like glide
maybe
this
that was
in,
unavoidable. Yeah, right.
they
Go
would
on.
have run out of medals to give this guy
Right.
and his
Yes.
girlfriend. Like these two would have been like Earth president
They
within a
would
couple
have
of weeks.
cut out the big gold face on the tail and awarded it to him.
Yeah, as well as they should have. I mean, but no, we don't get to have.
We don't get to have the
Don't worry,
the
we don't get to
fun,
have
cool
those
ending.
fun
No.
jokes. No, this is gonna
Yeah.
end very poorly.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, the best he could do was steer the thing away from population centers. And so the plane crashed into a hill just north of Grammatico, which is northeast of Athens.
Mm. Yeah, it's a
Um,
pretty gnarly crash. I mean, it's a strange thing to say of like an airliner crash, but like we've seen there's airliner crashes and then there's airliner crashes. This
Right.
is
It's not exactly like a lot of flat fields in Greece where you can
no,
land a plane,
Right.
no. You get soup like homogenated. This is an interesting question as well. It's something that came up with actually the Challenger disaster
Mhm.
is like were any of these people besides the two of them
Oh,
with
God,
oxygen
yeah.
supplies conscious when this happened?
What a
And
thought.
I mean,
Yeah.
listen,
You hope not.
the decreasing altitude means that, like, yes, it's possible, but like you've been up there so long, hypoxia, it's just going to straight up kill you, or at least like vastly, like you're not going to be aware of what's going on if you're even still
Sure.
alive, which I don't think you will be. Is
Yeah,
the good news.
it was just them and the Sherpa in the back who's calling
Right.
the flight
Who's now
attendant
just
button,
going through all the mini bottles in first class. Right. Yes.
We've now used this Sherpa as a punchline enough times that I want to plug the documentary Sherpa because it's a genuinely like I've done this before, but it's a harrowing fucking watch.
Oh yeah, I mean those people are very mistreated by
Oh yeah.
horrible rich people who go to Everest.
So a link to Hawaii there where it's like no rich people tourists,
Yeah.
fucking horrible to everyone who works for them and around them. But yeah, so the thing just like hits the deck badly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
everyone dies.
Very, very rough landing. Yeah, everyone dies, 115 passengers, 6 crew, total of 121 people dead.
Yeah, a bunch of like predictably sort of heartbreaking stories about this where it just like wipes out entire families. And as you can see here, it just like shears off the tail,
Yeah.
which like comes to rest on this sort of like dirt road. Sort of sticking up in the air. Very sort of strange vibes.
So yeah, that's how that ended.
Well, that's how Flight 522 ended. But
Yes.
there's more sort of like corporate history as a result of this.
Yes.
Sort of, this is a nicer livery. They've kind of done a better job on this one. It's sort of like it's inspired by the Greek flag, clearly with the like horizontal blue stripes. It's got the alpha on there. It's nice.
Oh yeah. So hold on, who wrote the first paragraph here? I got the second one.
Oh well. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take this anyway. So the Helios on the 29th of August, they go, okay, we've checked all the planes. Planes are fine. We're back. We're absolutely back. Realizing that crashing the plane is sort of like bad for the brand, they do a
Yes.
rebrand and they change the name from Helios Airways. They get a slightly more expensive rebrand to Alpha Jet. I assume it's Alpha because it's it looks like an Alpha. But what happens is the Cypriot authorities get them. They freeze the accounts. They the term for this for an aircraft or a boat, by the way, is arrest, which I find charming. They arrest all of the aircraft, and all the accounts are frozen. And I think, as much as we say that the ideal airline, owns no planes and conducts no economic activity whatsoever, when you have to actually do that, it turns out that you have to kind of file for bankruptcy or stop operating.
Yes.
But they last
Just-
a whole year after this.
Just paying your debts. Just keep paying the debts.
If you
Take
can't
out
service
more
the debt,
loans to pay the debts. Yeah.
that's if you can't service your debts, then you have to stop operating, and that's what they do in 2006.
And, you get down to the nasty business of what actually caused the accident here, right? And as usual with airplane disasters, there's a huge combination of factors.
Swiss cheese,
Um,
right? You got the,
yeah.
for want of a nail, if the guy had like turned the thing back to automatic, or if any of the 3 checklists had caught it,
So,
or
yeah.
if
So the one of the main causes of confusion turned out to be that the takeoff configuration problem alarm that the pilots thought they were hearing
Yes.
was the same alarm as the cabin altitude warning alarm. It made the same sound. It's just that the takeoff configuration problem alarm couldn't happen at altitude. But they were probably much more familiar with that one than they were for the cabin altitude warning alarm.
sort of context clues. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like they're both, potentially kill everybody alarms, but I feel like the cabin is depressurizing alarm should be a little bit more vivid,
There
maybe.
should be a different alarm.
Different alarm, yeah.
The one that goes, fucking put on your weird flesh-colored oxygen mask now, idiots.
They should just have a thing that comes down from the roof of the cockpit, even if it's
Yeah.
not the cool mask. You still have a
Boxing glove on a spring. Just punches
Just
you
Rocket
really
League.
hard in the top of the head,
Yeah.
and you put on the mask.
So
Boing.
the pilots, of course,
This is also an anti-hijacking measure,
Yeah.
right? If you get
that's
a
a good
pilot
point.
who looks like he's gonna maybe kamikaze the aircraft, what you do, you like hit the button and he gets clocked in the head really hard with a boxing glove.
comes out. He gets put on a pair of Acme rocket skates, and they send him all the way to the back of the aircraft on those. You get
With the Sherpa.
yeah.
But like every aircraft has a Sherpa in the back, like an air marshal.
Oh yeah, what they don't tell you is that the Sherpa was actually in the back near the tail, and he just sort of walked out of the bathroom there at the end of the after it crashed. Gave him a very bad Yelp review.
Yeah. 121 deaths and one guy who had to get a cab.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh no.
So, of course, because the alarm and the other alarm were the same alarm, the pilots, of course, mistook the problem for another problem, took action accordingly.
Super helpful.
We don't know how they missed the pressurization setup, since the flight data recorder only records the last 30 minutes of the flight.
Well, I'm sure we can speculate,
Yeah.
perhaps based on the fact that the dude was East German. Maybe we could be like, yeah, he probably missed it because he was like eating bratwurst or something.
You would think, since he was autistic, which is what communism does apparently,
What?
he would be extra into the checklist.
You would
but,
think, yeah. I mean, did Interflug ever have like a whole loss accident? I don't even know if they did. So maybe
probably
the sort of the German mind, guided by the structure of the Volkseigene Betrieb, is like sort of the most efficient and safe sort of method of administration. I don't know.
Yeah. There were 3 points where this should have been checked. There's also the issue of the maintenance guys, leaving this in the manual position when they probably shouldn't have. And this is also where you look into the blame on the airline specifically. Why are these maintenance procedures, these critical maintenance procedures, not spelled out more clearly? Why is, so on and so forth. And then, of course, there's the controversy about the cockpit doors. Like, is this whole post 9/11 security theater thing where we got to lock the cockpit doors, is this causing more problems than it's solving? I think this is an incident which kind of proves that,
Right.
this is a little bit more, this can cause problems in ways that were not anticipated. We're in emergency situations. No one can reach the pilots when the pilots are screwing up.
Yeah. I mean, short of like, I mean, it's not to distract us from the thing, but I think about pilot hijacking all the time. And short
Same,
of
same.
like,
Yeah.
putting the fucking Suicide Squad brain bomb in them. Like, you gotta have the ability to like open the door.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not good to have these guys just completely sealed
It's
off, you
completely
know?
hermetically sealed, right?
And like, if you tried to 9/11 somebody now, right, and you didn't get positionally asphyxiated,
Very
and
crucial, right?
like they didn't like break into the cockpit through the eminently breakthroughable door and kill you, right? They would shoot the plane down. Like
Right.
you
Yeah.
have a much narrower window now to
They
9/11
they
anything.
they they would call up Amy McGrath and have her shoot the plane
That's
down,
right.
yes.
Yeah, they would do you Prigozhin style. Like you wouldn't.
Yes. So, did anyone get punished?
Oh, I wrote this slide. I have some lessons. So,
Meaningfully, I
well, I mean,
assume.
first of all, well, all of the people who lost family members through no fault of their own got punished extensively. But yeah, so they sued Boeing. Boeing settled out of court for, I believe, an undisclosed sum. Surprise,
Uh,
surprise.
uh,
The Cypriot authorities put 4 airline bosses on trial. The CEO, chairman of the board, chief engineer, and chief pilot. Um, that trial collapsed. There was like a mistrial, a retrial, went to the Supreme Court, collapsed. So they were all acquitted. Then 3 of them plus one other guy. I think this was the chief engineer actually, a guy called Alan Irwin. They were put on trial in Greece for manslaughter. Um, and I mean, justice systems in this way, but I kind of like appreciate a justice system that does not like sending people to jail,
sure.
but it turns into a bit of a farce after a while. It's the same as like when Berlusconi was like in and out of technically being convicted and stuff. Um, like all 4 of them got convicted. They didn't have to go to jail because they had appeals pending, which was it must be nice, right? That one guy, Irwin, he appealed successfully and was acquitted. Everybody else, the other 3, had to go to jail or pay a 79,000 euro fine, which
Oh, come on.
in context is not a lot of money. And then the chief
Yeah.
pilot, he doesn't go to jail anyway because he's Bulgarian, and the Bulgarian government asks the Greek government nicely, "Hey, don't put our guy in jail." Um, so yeah, 2 guys go to jail off of this for corporate manslaughter for I think it's like 10 years. And the FAA makes Boeing put 2 additional warning lights in the cockpit.
Whoa.
Wow, we got a 737 recall out of it. And that's
It's
like most
Not
of
even
what
really a
happened.
yeah,
recall.
you got a full like airworthiness
Oh,
directive,
yeah,
which
you're
is
right.
you have to install 2 lights
Lights.
and a boxing glove on a spring that
Yes.
say that say that the cabin is depressurizing
Hey,
and you have to
dummy,
do
You
something
ever
the
play
about
cabin
it.
cell damage?
depressurized.
Yeah, there's an interesting long read on in the Guardian from 2020 about this guy Alan Owen, which and sort of like his what the process was like for him, which was harrowing. And he feels that he was kind of like the fall guy of it. I don't know, but what we learned from it essentially is almost nothing.
Yeah.
The Helios like really, really fucked up all of the sort of like crisis response PR. A curious detail that this all runs through one company. There's one company called Kenyan International Emergency Services, which essentially does all of it, like a shitload of airlines and stuff keep them on retainer for crisis PR. Um, and this time, because they were worried about like the legal repercussions, they didn't do any of the like touchy feely stuff where you get like a like personalized sort of letter of apology or whatever. Instead, it was just like they just locked everything down, and so nobody heard anything from them for a long period.
That's the
Which
old-fashioned way.
yeah,
Sure.
exactly.
Yeah, like a railroad that killed 400 people and burning passenger cars.
Yeah,
Mhm.
these days, I think the done thing now is more sort of ostensibly compassionate, and they sort of like jump on that. But in this case, no, very much not. Um,
It is still kind of cynical, though, that there's a whole firm out there where you're like,
sure.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
of course,
yep,
yeah.
all right, we have a problem. Can you fix it, please?
Yeah,
I don't
they're sort of like
personally have compassion for anyone, but we need to keep up appearances here.
I mean, listen, on their website they describe themselves as a world leader in disaster management. The world's leading full service disaster management company, in fact. So
Here's how to make sure they don't put it in the newspaper that you got mad.
yeah,
essentially, yeah,
because everyone's
this is
dead.
this is who you
They've
should
all-
hire if you ever feel like you're gonna really fuck up on like a global
Let's
scale.
say, try not to 9/11 the Acropolis, right? Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if there is a risk due to your job that you are gonna 9/11 the Acropolis, this is the kind of company that you want on retainer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Real
Well,
grim.
And of course, not too long later, the German wings crash
Yeah.
occurs.
Yeah, it was
Yep.
like what, like fucking. When was that?
I was in college for it. I
Mhm.
remember that much because we
I
did a
remember.
story
I
on it
remember
for
the
the
thing
newspaper.
vividly, but I don't remember
Yeah.
what year it was. I don't like picture myself. 2015.
Mhm.
So like 10 years.
Yeah, so like the security theater aspect of keeping the cockpit door locked is obviously
At
still a
least
thing.
two aircraft down,
Mhm.
possibly because of it, right?
Yeah. On the other
Probably
hand,
just like make it like the sort of like regional turboprops where it's just like a little curtain, you know?
yeah, exactly.
Nobody's fucking gonna 9/11 the the Faroe Islands or whatever, so
Sure.
just a little curtain, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think we found that we've learned nothing from this.
No,
once
no,
again.
absolutely nothing. It's just a sort of like horrifying experience. And that's the Well There's Your Problem promise. The
I
Well There's
thought
Your
this was
promise.
going to be something where we could like talk about crew resource management or something
it was
like
bad.
that.
Yeah, it was bad because
it was not,
that one guy was the German kind of communist.
Right.
yeah, apparently. I mean, there doesn't seem to be like
2005.
Yeah.
He hadn't been a communist, like presumably, definitionally, for like 14 years at that point.
Yeah, it's kind of like, well, this is a problem that could have been solved by having two separate alarms. I mean,
Just have one of them make a slightly funkier noise. Like
Yeah.
that literally it. Like
yeah. Well, we have a segment on this podcast called Safety Third.
More like safety.
Shake hands for danger.
Hello and welcome to Well, There's Your Gas Leak, a story about
Nope.
negligence without slides.
That.
Until last week, I was an engineering intern at a large German engineering firm y'all have definitely heard of.
you vastly overestimate the number of large German engineering firms I can name.
It's gotta be
I can
Siemens.
think of several.
Well, you can, of course you can.
yeah.
I'm the fucking comic relief idiot.
Oh, well, I thought I
Oh,
was
yeah,
the
well-
comic relief idiot.
You have
Oh.
an engineering degree.
No, I have a mathematical economics degree, Alice.
Same difference. Like
Thank
that's
you.
like I don't have a bachelor's yet.
It could be MAN. It could be Siemens. It could be ABB. It could be.
Rheinmetall, if you want to get like really filthy with it. Like
I'm not allowed to say it was. So they took safety very seriously at the factory in the U.S. I definitely can't say it was.
yeah, what is a German company that acts like the Germans in the Simpsons episode where the Germans take over the power plant?
Siemens. It's
Yeah.
fucking
They
Siemens.
took safety
You were
very
asleep for 12
seriously.
minutes. Simpson, Homer, that is all.
They took safety very seriously at the factory in the U.S. I was at because they were in the process of expanding and wanted to demonstrate to the higher-ups they could handle the expansion. A few weeks before my planned departure, an incident occurred. Being on a research and development team, I was in the back part of the factory where my team would assemble their prototypes, which are just 8-foot tall sheet metal boxes that house industrial electrical components.
Again, we want to speculate as to what company this is.
No.
No.
I'll explain. I'll explain after the episode. Our workspace is adjacent to a long-term storage room that is separated by a metal wall. I was working with another intern one afternoon, assembling one of those big metal boxes, while two veteran employees were using a forklift to move even larger metal boxes to even longer-term storage somewhere in Texas. At a certain point, over the din of the factory and the sound of an impact driver on a metal box, I registered a whooshing sound from the storage room.
Uh-oh.
It had been going on for a good 30 seconds when I realized the sound was out of place. I turned to look and I saw an abandoned forklift with a 12-foot metal box on its forks and one of the two guys very casually walking away from the scene and the other nowhere to be found. Moving closer to investigate, I saw a little bit of red caution tape furiously flapping at the end of a 2-inch wide white painted pipe that was hanging down from the ceiling about 12 feet from the floor.
That caution tape doing the job of Paul Revere there. Like,
Yes. I was immediately hit with the smell of natural gas. I started moving away, telling the few employees I crossed paths with as I left until I found a manager who might know what to do.
you didn't hit the fire alarm? Is there a fire alarm to hit? Like,
Well, he told me to leave and he started making phone calls.
oh boy.
Not wanting to cause a panic, I left through the factory and out of the office with the other intern without telling anyone else.
Oh boy.
I walked alongside the guy who I saw leave the scene after he first grabbed his lunchbox before going outside without raising any alarms or even telling anyone what had just happened.
Bit.
It was a full 3 minutes before anyone pulled the damn evacuation alarm. This factory has close to 200 people in it at any given day, so it was a couple more minutes before everyone was out of the building. Eventually, the fire department shut off the pipe and aired out the building. While we waited, I got to hear about how multiple people had nearly knocked the cap off that hard-to-see and easy-to-hit pipe, and the company hadn't done anything but put that little red flag on it. The fire department told us we could go back in after a while, but the company just sent everyone home for the day. Their official report placed blame on the guy driving the forklift, who had to redo his forklift training, and made no mention of why they decided to paint a natural gas pipe white and leave it hanging down from the ceiling in the first place. When I left, it was only marked by the little red flag.
That little red flag is like
That's not
like the sole thing keeping this factory from disaster.
not like that.
For want of a little bit of like red caution tape.
Yes. Y'all keep up the good work. From Felonious Monk.
Wow, the Felonious Monk really work for.
I
Gotta
can't
stop
say,
saying.
can't say whether or not.
Can you just go back and bleep every time we've said the name?
Yeah. That'll be
But like
relevant
bleep
later.
it in like a really Germanic way. Like give me like an Alpenhorn or something over it. And no lead in, so people are gonna be like, "What the was that? Was like a fucking flute for like 3 minutes until they get to this?" And they're like, "Oh."
So that was safety third.
Shake hands with danger.
Please just hit a fire alarm because a natural gas thing is like there's gonna
I
be a
was about to
situation
say,
where the
I
fire
was
alarm
about
is relevant if you don't hit the fire alarm.
This is true. The note here says our next episode will be a sick ass live show.
Yeah.
Correct. I
Not
wrote that when I was
as-
possessed
as.
by a sort of like Australian aura. A fucking sick ass
live
live show.
show.
Out of the Franklin Music Hall. Yeah, so come to the live show. Please come to the live show.
We're gonna hoon the podcasts.
We are gonna hoon the podcast.
Then we're gonna have a Barbie
That's
and
right.
then we're gonna have a
Stop
we're gonna
Stop it.
what other things are in Australia?
Racism.
Right, yeah, we're gonna do some
We're
racism.
gonna do a lot of racism against
We're
indigenous
gonna
peoples.
stop the boats. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a PO box. We have a Patreon can subscribe to. We get a bonus episode approximately once a month. The current one coming out shortly is going to be on Legionella.
It's out. bud.
Yeah.
Oh, it's out. Perfect. We have a what the fuck else do we have? Yeah, if you want to submit a safety third, because like it's been a minute since we plugged that. If you want to submit a safety third, a story of like, you know, a sort of informal civilian near miss reporting system where you can talk
Yeah.
about some dangerous shit that you did or
Yeah.
happened to you, send an email to wtyppod@gmail.com.
Yes. You'd keep it to about a page worth of text. If you send some pictures, that's also very good. You know,
Let us know what
we
you want to
enjoy.
anonymize, because anything you say, Justin will read.
I'll just read it out. Yeah, I will tell you. I will read everything out that you send us, unless you say specifically not to read it. And then, yeah, that's how you submit a safety third.
Mhm. Well, thanks for coming, everybody.
Yeah, I was about to say thanks everyone if you made it this far in the podcast.
Come to our show. Fuck you.
Come to our live show.
Come to the live show.
Don't subscribe. Come to the live show.
Yeah.
All- do
Dislike and come to the
Do
live
not
show.
dislike. They got rid of them.
Yeah.
Didn't they get rid of dislikes? Oh.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I barely pay attention to the platform that provides the majority of my income.
I was about.
you can
to
dislike
say,
it.
You know, nothing makes sense anymore.
We're
We
like
all- we
5,000 subscribers away.
Oh, so fucking
Yeah.
I want my plaque.
Yeah.
You can subscribe and then dislike.
Subscribe, dislike the podcast.
You can
that dislikes you back.
you can hate watch our podcast.
That's true.
That would be-
you can
People do.
like
There's
talk
gotta
about
be people who
how
do, yeah.
problematic we are.
Yeah, we don't.
You can
I
call
don't
us
care.
out for our
Yes.
sort of like anti-Sherpa racism.
You can hold us accountable.
That's true.
Yeah.
By bringing us to a high altitude.
We're probably not going to listen
Depressing
to
us.
you.
do not pressurize us.
All right, bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.